Ursula K. Le Guin, one of America's most admired and influential authors, is the subject of the Postal Service's latest stamp in the Literary Arts series. Le Guin received many awards for her brilliant storytelling, including multiple Hugo and Nebula Awards for top prizes for science fiction and fantasy writing. In 2003, she became the second woman honored as a Grand Master of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. And in 2014, she was awarded the Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters by the National Book Foundation. Le Guin had a lifelong fascination with Native American cultures, anthropology, mythology, feminism, and the Chinese Taoist philosophy, and those influences were reflected in her writing. While she was best known for her fantasy and science fiction classics like The Wizard of Earthsea and The Left Hand of Darkness, she proved to be a master of multiple genres. She was a prolific writer of children's books, poetry, and nonfiction. She also produced translations of several international authors. She was never content to work within the boundaries of a single genre. At this time, we are pleased to present the 33rd Literary Arts Stamp honoring Ursula K. Le Guin.
I first met her for the podcast, and it was based on a hunch that when her reissue of her craft book came out, that she probably wasn't getting a lot of attention or being asked a lot of questions outside of the questions she's always asked about her most well-known fantasy and science fiction books. And I imagined maybe if I was her, she would like to have a conversation about these other things. And so our first encounter was really about how to write and having a long form conversation about questions of craft and the development of craft. And we found that we both just loved talking the nuts and bolts.
Beyond her fiction, the work that I treasure the most is her writing about writing. And I think she manages to walk a line that is very difficult to write, and that a lot of sort of writing guides don't do, in my opinion, which is, on the one hand, her work is tremendously sort of democratic and democratizing and sort of egalitarian, sort of aesthetically egalitarian. But at the same time, she doesn't blunt the seriousness of her commitment to craft, and she doesn't achieve that egalitarianism or democracy by a kind of flattening of the difficulty and specifics of writing, and how much it matters to work at it and to try really hard to be a good writer. So there's no kind of coddling, there's no kind of, come on, it's all easy. But at the same time, there is the sense that, you know, if you are a human and you want to do this, then if we work on it together, you absolutely can.
You know, one of the things I admire about her the most is she had a depth of critical thought and analysis that I don't see that often. And I think that was sort of formed by her ability to be vulnerable and ability to always be learning.
All of our conversations, at least first accidentally, but then intentionally, were about the parts of her own writing life that are sort of out of the spotlight. We were having conversations about poetry, about translation, about literary criticism, but we started the first time we talked about grammar and about the sentence and about syntax. And what was really interesting about that is even there, or maybe even particularly there, you discover all of the same questions, themes, and concerns she has in her most well-known science fiction and fantasy books.
I think one of the things that characterizes her work is this combination of a very powerful sense of sort of narrative. These are just great stories, irrespective of everything else, but they also come sort of inextricable from not only an intense sense of sort of social commitment and commitment to sort of liberation, but also to a humaneness and a humility that was has been starkly lacking from an awful lot of science fiction, particularly much of the work around the same time as she was writing.
we did our last conversation in her house, in her reading room. And at the end of it, I said to her, I don't think I could imagine another writer who had written in all three genres, poetry, nonfiction, and fiction, for a half century, that I could have these three long-form conversations with at such a depth. And she said, why don't we make it into a book? Which we then spent a whole bunch of time building out from those conversations. But I don't think there are that many people who have such a sustained engagement in one genre, let alone in three genres.
As a child, it was just really fun to have a grandmother that people recognized. I remember the first time that I sort of connected the dots was in elementary school, and she came to my class and did like a library reading of one of her children's books. I remember just feeling very proud that she was reading to us. Yeah, it was just a wonderful thing. Who wouldn't want their grandmother to participate in story time?
I think one of the things that I will always remember about her, beyond, her brilliance as a writer and her seriousness as a scholar and her rigor as an activist, is the thing that I didn't know before I had the chance to meet her, work with her, which is how funny she was. She was very, very witty and could be quite vinegary, and did not suffer fools gladly, but again, always with a kind of humaneness. But she really made me giggle, and I was very intimidated by her, I think quite rightly, when I first met her, and I did not expect Ursula Le Guin to be someone who made me giggle.
One thing that's so great about her being honored with the stamp is that she corresponded with her fans all the time. So letter writing was kind of really important to how she related to her fan base, I think. And I just love, I love the image on the stamp, and I love to imagine all the letters sailing all over the world with her little face on them. And I picture it sort of as, her blessing these letters on their way. That is just really special to me.